How are you?
The music's kind of screwy, but
Oh, is it fucking with you?
yeah, it's like I can barely hear you.
You're welcome.
So
That I turned it down for
I
your
was gonna
bitching.
sign off politics, but I guess we'll do one more special. Um, I really think you should, if you have any contacts, you really need to get Destiny on panel because I think we could have a real good talk about the left wing perspective on this incident. But
So you want
anyways,
me to hold on? You want me to get Destiny on panel?
if you can, because I have lots of questions for him about where he said that he wouldn't correct anyone who was celebrating the near assassination attempt on Trump, including fuck the guy that died and fuck Trump. He should have gotten killed. So that was Destiny's take on the whole situation. Which to me kind of reflects the normal left-wing view of life, which is why I'm always harping on these people. But now we have a recent clear example of what I've been talking about all along.
Okay, so go on. What is your conclusion, or where's your mind at that you've been talking about? Make the connection.
Starting with the left wing, like I said, clearly you see the quality of those people now. And now moving on to the center left wing, you got like the Dave Rubins and stuff like that are they're probably turning more right wing now because they're starting to see how completely disgusting the left wing is. But
Well, hold on. Let's go one at a time.
Okay.
So you're saying that the left wing is showing their ass. They're showing who they are. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? Okay, now explain what you mean by that. Because I think I know what you mean, but I don't want to assume I-Fi.
So, Jack Black's guitar buddy said on stage, next time don't miss Trump. Like those kinds of public statements that everyone knows will be recorded, and replayed and stuff. And everyone in the crowd's cheering and laughing and stuff like that.
Right.
And so, but the Destiny is the most recent example I can think of because I just watched his Piers Morgan interview where he was on with Dave Rubin and Cenk Uygur. Cenk Uygur, by the way, also completely disgusting, but slightly less disgusting than Destiny because at least Cenk was trying to play the skeptical card. He was pretending like, the right wing is leaning too hard into like very questionable terms because we're not saying it's just an obvious failure on the Secret Service. It's such a huge failure. It's almost like it was somehow like orchestrated or dark forces involved and stuff. And I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but
yes, you are.
This one's actually really like fucking with me because my official position on all conspiracy theories is that Occam's razor is always evil retards is probably the explanation of why shit fucked up. But the more I hear about this case, it's like way too fucked up. It's like I know humans are evil and retarded, but this is like beyond crayon eating retards. This is like voting Democrat levels of retard that we're talking about here. And so I don't know if you've heard all of the evidence yet, but I've heard enough of it where it's like you had the witnesses calling out to the police that there's a dude on the roof with a rifle, and there was a policeman that checked the roof that the guy was on. The guy turned around with a rifle, pointed it at the policeman, and then the policeman ran away. Didn't announce to Trump or the Secret Service that there might be a problem with a crazy man with a rifle on the roof. And then you got this, like you said, I think all the experts that you talk to, all the sniper experts, will tell you that there's no way that they would miss that roof that close even with that sniper nest, constantly panning over the horizon looking for any potential, threats. And then I heard that there's more evidence that the Secret Service was told not to put a nest on that building for some reason.
Okay, so apparent discrepancies within the mainstream narrative that you're pointing out that don't make sense, some sort of cognitive dissonance. If we believe this, then how the fuck does this make sense? And what up, CJ?
Hey, I was about to say something about the roof as well. Like, I know you're in the military and whatnot, but my only strategic planning with the army type stuff comes from video games. But even if I was trying to protect the president in a video games, it seems like check the roof. They don't check roofs. No. I
Yeah.
talked I talked to a buddy of mine that said he went to a convention. He's a big political guy, and he said they had two choppers hovering at all times at the one he went to.
Hmm.
They-
Yeah, I mean, that sounds right. I would think, especially with Trump. Given, I mean, before this event happened, there was so much controversy surrounding him, period. A lot of death threats, as IFI has pointed out. Whoever in the mainstream, Jack Black or whoever the fuck, talking about, oh, don't miss next time, this type of shit. That
Yeah.
was happening before this happened. Obviously, those weren't the same words. It was like, we need to get rid of him. He needs to DIE, whatever the case. But I'm just saying, this is nothing new. So, as you're saying, CJ, yeah, I'm not in the Secret Service, never been in it, but I would think that's pretty common sense. I don't think that would be revolutionary to check the roof, to have not even choppers. You don't need choppers now. You could have fucking drones all over, and I would think that they did.
drones. Yeah.
And when Biden said keep Trump in the bullseye, he clearly didn't mean crosshairs, and so that's how he walked back that statement.
Okay, so you're pointing out So where were you going with that, IFI? Like, what do you see? all in
The
all?
language and rhetoric that they're like I said, you already pointed out, they've been doing this for years. They've been saying, like, using violence type language whenever referring to how to handle Republicans in the right wing, and so it's okay when they do it though. But anyways, like I said, I mean, if you watch all the recent news interviews where the interviewer was asking Biden what he meant by keep Trump in the bullseye, he said, well, I didn't mean like a crosshair type bullseye. So that's totally different.
And we got a little correction here coming from Lauren. Apparently, Jack Black disowned his statements that it was Kyle Gass, not Jack Black. I don't know anything about this. I just saw, the headliner that Jack Black was at a concert. So Lauren is saying it was not Jack Black. But
I just said it was his guitarist.
Oh, his guitarist. Okay.
The
Gotcha.
other guy in the band. But anyways, Jack Black was on stage and laughed at it because it was so funny. So of course he'll disown it now that he realizes he may lose some money over it.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the context of a concert. We could all say would have done this, would have done that. I've never put on a concert. But speaking of Joe Cool, did you see you made my newest video, Joe Cool? Your laugh, anyways, in my speakeasy little short there. Had the Joe Cool laugh, but anyways. So, yeah, I don't know. Probably he should have said right then and there, nah, I don't agree. Fuck my guitarist. I mean...
Yeah, he probably should have said, no, we shouldn't endorse killing people, including, the recent president who's about to become president again.
In his world, that probably helped him out, though. You know what I mean? Like in the media world.
in left-wing world, that definitely helped him out with street cred.
Well, even in right wing, well, hold on. Even in right wing world, in any wing world, any attention is good attention in terms of metrics. Well, I'm just saying, even if every Republican in the U.S. was like, fuck this dude, every Trump supporter, that would give him a lot of eyes on. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying I support it or I would do it. I'm just saying the way people think. I don't think they would care. Now, Jack Black's band, whoever they are, they made headlines because of it. So they're getting eyes on that they wouldn't have had otherwise. That just is what it is.
Yeah, but he was already famous, so that's kind of a weak excuse that he was doing it to get famous. Which I can understand. Like if you're arguing that someone that no one's ever heard of was trying to get attention, but he was already famous and just riding the left wing narrative as usual. So, but
Yeah, and I
that's what
don't
was going-
disagree with that overall. By the way, I'm just saying another perspective.
That's why I was saying Destiny is a way better example. I really wish you could get him on panel just so you can hear from his own lips. You know,
Yeah,
how he's not even.
And how would you suggest I get Destiny on channel?
I don't know. Just
on
you know,
panel.
ask his buddy Andrew Wilson or something. If you could pull.
Yeah, you know what?
strings.
I'm pretty sure Andrew owed me a favor now, so I think you're right. So, what are you thinking, CJ? Do you see it the same as what IFI's saying, or a little different? Did you have some other points?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm the opposite. I've been a conspiracy theorist for a long time, so I don't even watch politics anymore because I used to be really into it, and then I started going down some of these rabbit holes, and then now I don't even pay attention to it at all. But,
I'm kind of in the same boat as you.
I did not know until he got shot that there were women on the special. What is it called?
Yeah, the
Secret Service.
That's when I found out.
Yo, think about it though. It is wild, the idea of. Oh, here we are pissing people off already. But the idea of women out there protecting men, it's counter to biology. It's counter to nature. Now, are there some women who could protect men better than other men? Yeah, I'm sure there's some. I'm sure they exist. But it doesn't seem like this one was one of them.
Yeah.
And what up, Caucasian?
What's happening?
It doesn't help that the head of the Secret Service is a woman, and that half of Trump's security were women either. So that
The head is a
helping
woman?
their argument.
The issue is not that the head is a woman. The issue is that the head is specifically a DEI promoter, diversity, equity, and inclusion promoter, and she specifically moved to increase the number of female officers, agents, I suppose, in the Secret Service roles by 30% to be a total of 30%. Now, I don't have a particular issue with that. What I have an issue with is there were 5 people on stage with Trump at the time, actual Secret Service. All 5 of them could not have picked his big ass up and carried him off if they needed to.
By the way, Caucasian, did you see the picture of one of the Secret Service agents who happened to be a woman ducking behind Trump and hiding behind him while he was getting shot?
Yeah, but I mean, like, this is clearly a management up problem, right? This is not the agent's individual selves. That agent was placed on the wrong detail. That agent should be on a detail for a woman who's half her size.
I don't think it's helping their case. The way
Absolutely not. But I'm just saying the utilization of the agents at hand was badly managed. Even, I mean, you could have pulled in a handful of big boy deputies and had them up on the stage there. There is one catch here, though. Even the deputies on the stage with Trump, or around the stage with Trump at the time, when the Secret Service triggers, right, anything they deem as a threat can be destroyed. They are immune from prosecution. That's why he has a Secret Service detail instead of a security detail. That's why he can't pay for a private security detail, because the private security detail, A, has to be vetted by the Secret Service in the first place, and 2, Secret Service takes precedence over private security details. And so even in the event something happened and the private security did something that resulted in someone dying, that could feasibly be a murder charge on the security detail, whereas the Secret Service just wouldn't even acknowledge it happened. They'd just be like, yeah, we killed people.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
one exception to that rule is if the gunman had pointed his rifle at a police officer, they're not allowed to shoot that guy, though.
The Secret
Right,
Service
that's
can
fine.
shoot anyone they think is a threat to the subject.
Right,
Anyway.
but he just pointed his rifle at a police officer, so obviously they're not allowed to shoot him because
I
that
mean,
was
The
can
thought
we
can
vote on
self-defense.
if we're going to give women that power or not, or something like to have that ability? You know what I mean?
No, I don't have a problem with that. I have no problem with women as Secret Service. I have a
Oh, I
problem with
do.
the
That's what I'm saying.
assignment
I
of
don't think
agents.
it should be a thing.
So let's go with what Caucasian is saying, right? That they essentially have immunity. They have what we could refer to as a very high level of power, right? I mean, that's what it is. So with that said, you would think that they would be pretty fucking good at what they're doing to have
They-
that level of power and discretion that you're describing.
1 week ago, I would have said that the Secret Service is the greatest security detail on earth. Today, I say there are a handful of private units out there that are better.
I would expect, not knowing much about it, that the Secret Service should be like the top 10% of the SEALs or some crap like that. You know what I mean? Like it should be
It's not
like
like that.
the best of the best type people.
Right? Force recon.
No,
Also
it's not
the
like that
building,
at all. These are not hardened veterans. These are people trained in security. They're people that work with driving generals around in Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff. They're security people. They are the Secret Service. They don't muck around with investigations and checking. When the gunman shows up, they execute the threat and extirpate the target. Get the subject out of here. That's their
And
only.
Lauren, it's called prioritization. All right. He needed those fucking shoes.
also I would assume they're trained to like anticipate threats and not wait until like after they start shooting, you know.
Okay, to that end, I have to say this. I am not a trained security expert in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I have no former military training whatsoever, nor security training at all. But I would have set up my spotter team on that roof.
I
Right where the
heard
sniper was.
I heard from an interview that they were directed not to set up on that roof. I don't know if that's true or not, but if that's true, that would be very interesting.
That's all speculation. I would say that that's true, and I would say that based off of the location of the actual spotters being the third best choice that I could see on the aerial view. Now,
Also,
as far as inside the venue, that's another discussion. But the Secret Service is not constrained by inside the venue. That's not a thing.
Here's some more weird trivia. The building the shooter shot from was used as a staging ground for security. The building was full of security cops.
That makes sense to me. That actually makes sense because, like I said, when they drew up the original plans, I guarantee you there was a spotter on that roof because that is the
down below the roof.
best spotter location on the entire grounds. The second best was not the same building, but the adjacent building to the left and further away from Trump was the second best spotter location. And they didn't have anyone there either that I'm aware of. But they put somebody over here 25 feet to Trump's right just to look at him while he gets shot, essentially.
So do any of you guys know about the sound of the bullet? Like, does that sound like something that a civilian can just have?
Yes. Dude, there's no such thing as a civilian caliber.
It sounded. I've never heard of. I mean, I hear hunting rifles all the time.
Well, hold up. So Caucasian, there are rounds of ammunition that are, to my understanding, I don't know if it's still like this, but dedicated to military. But the sound distinction, nah. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell any difference. I've shot ARs in the Marine Corps, in civilian life. Zero distinction that anyone would make any distinction to. Maybe subsonic, maybe something that a machine could pick up, maybe.
That is something I considered, a subsonic round, but that's very rare in 5.56. You only go subsonic if you're running SOCOM or SEAL team or something like that. When you're doing black bag projects, you go subsonic.
I guess that's what I was getting at. That's what makes me feel like it's an inside thing. Is it was like some kind of dude that had a special gun.
Well, they talked about in the article that he had just bought 50 rounds of ammunition. This is something I read out during the article just previously. 50 rounds of ammunition to buy from a store. I mean, that's what they're saying. According to, BBC. So, according to the main narrative, it sounds like these rounds were bought from a regular gun store.
I can't wait till we hear all the details about all the police reports, including when they encountered him before he even got to the area, labeled him suspicious, allowed him to continue with a rifle, I guess? I mean, how was he concealing a rifle at that point? I don't
In
know.
his trench coat on a summer day. Don't be dumb.
Okay.
And Brown's boy, I got it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Tell London McLovin I will look out for it.
And where did the ladder come from? And again, why was no police or agents, patrolling that area? Except for the police that showed up as he was about to start shooting, had the rifle pointed at him, and then ran away and didn't tell anybody. It was like, you would think he would at least start like shooting at him or alerting everyone around him that, there's a shooter on the roof or something. So many questions.
I don't understand why that roof was open in the first place. That's just like they said. They set up security details in that building because it was well located to the venue. The rooftop would have been a perfect vantage from which to spot the venue, and it would have eliminated the location of that particular sniper. And it would have guaranteed his secondary fallback position would have been the secondary position on the more distant roof, allowing them to keep it covered without actually having to put a man up there.
And Caucasian, what were you pulling up here about the Secret Service?
So their mandate, up until 2003, it was a part of the Department of Treasury, and its initial mandate was counterfeiting of U.S. currency. But now it's under the Department of Homeland Security, with the purpose of conducting criminal investigations and protecting U.S. political leaders, their families, and visiting heads of state and government. That's what I was saying about the misuse of an individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
That nice young lady who couldn't find her holster with her nice young pistol, she is not a bad agent. She is just on the wrong detail. She should be guarding some head of state that's coming into the country that's half her height and half her size. Somebody that she can actually cover, someone she could help move in the event they get hit. You don't put somebody who's 190 pounds trying to pick up a guy who's 6'4" and eats 4 cheeseburgers a day. It makes no sense.
Well, unless you're very strong, which probably isn't her.
That's why she was hiding behind Trump for cover. Obviously, duh.
I mean, who knows? Maybe she's G.I. fucking Joe. It just didn't look like it. Maybe it was the angle. Maybe TV take off 5 inches. But I don't know. It didn't look like it made fucking sense.
None.
So if this is a conspiracy, like who orchestrated it? That's the more.
You start at the head of the Secret Service. You go to Homeland Security and you start whacking weeds on your way down. And anybody who doesn't have the proper documentation to be in security should be escorted out of the building and handed their walking papers, because there's a lot of those people in there who come in from analytics, who come in from Department of Treasury. They come in from the investigative side and end up advancing into field work as part of the Secret Service. When these people are technically on paper, they are qualified, but in reality, they don't have the on-the-ground self-awareness that you need when bullets start flying, as you see with this nice young lady on the stage the other night.
So I can already guess that the usual tinfoil hat people are going to say this is definitely a CIA psyop or whatever, blah, 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 blah. But this doesn't ring of CIA quality to me. That's
how you know it rings of CIA quality.
You ready for
bastards?
You ready for my tinfoil gesture here? I'm gonna nod my tinfoil hat at this idea that it was one of Trump's people who was a real sharpshooter, fucking shoot a quarter on a half-mile target type of shooter, and purposely nicked his ear for all of the reasons I said before this, which is that injury will be a battle scar seen every single time his face is on camera. No, I didn't even finish yet.
So that he can hold his hand up for the photo op?
and it won't affect anything about his health or life or anything like that. That's my tinfoil hat conspiracy.
I'm
You
just
want me
reading.
to pick holes in that? I'd like to pick
Yeah,
holes.
yeah. Pick the holes.
That one. Okay. All right. So you're telling me that a man set up farther away than our current shooter, our patsy. You're calling him. He's a patsy, right? That's what we're saying. There's another shooter who's better, who's actually a skilled tactician and does this stuff for a living, right? And
Yeah.
he's the one that took the shot, and that guy was the one hired by somebody on Trump's team to give that man a battle scar on national TV. Go look at the footage itself. Immediately before Trump gets hit, he sees something out of the corner of his eye, turns his head, and that saves his life.
Yeah.
Why didn't that man miss?
Also, if he was a super pro sniper, he wouldn't have killed one of the guys in the background.
No. He had to for effect, and it was just a civilian, according to their logic. I'm not saying that.
The patsy gunman killed the people in the crowd. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. He was just popping shots, splitting wigs. We're talking about the super secret CIA deep state gunman that was planted by the Trump team, according to Base Oracle. We're talking about.
Look, I'm not saying this
47.
is my opinion. I'm just pulling out the tinfoil hat.
By the way, was he in
man.
front of or behind Trump base? Because I got to know where he took his shot from.
I don't know if it was real or not, but Jim Bob said that the guy was in a BlackRock video.
Yep. It certainly is.
And doesn't BlackRock own the
Yep.
world, pretty much?
They certainly do.
So where exactly did you pick apart the tinfoil hat? I mean, you asked. Well, somebody asked. Well, where was the other shooter? I don't care. They were somewhere.
Okay, we'll go with this somewhere. There was a super psychic Agent 47, super badass, deep state, ultra god level, tier 1
Mark
shooter.
Wahlberg. It was Mark Wahlberg.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, there
Shooter
we go.
himself is making this shot, right? And his job is to scar Trump, not kill him.
Yeah. Just to tag him.
How?
What do you mean how?
How do you coordinate the shots from the actual shooter in relation to the shots by the patsy shooter?
No.
that's
The actual shooter was shooting blanks, bro.
I'm so confused now. So the patsy shooter shooting blanks.
Yeah, and the pro killed the guy in the crowd and nicked Trump on purpose.
Oh shoot. Oh shit. Yo, Caucasian, I accidentally kicked you. I was trying to move your thing.
You know too much, Caucasian. You have to be taken out.
Yeah, if anyone, whatever. Hopefully he'll come back.
Anyways, Base, that's why it's called sophistry, because it sounds rational when you say it in your head, but when you like weigh all the evidence, it doesn't make enough sense.
What the fuck? How did I? Oh, I know what I did. All right, I was trying to pull up the picture and I fucking booted Caucasian. So, anyways, we'll see if he comes back.
I think that was the chick that was ducking behind him when he was getting shot at.
What is she doing? Is she giving him the Heimlich?
She's probably still trying to stay out of the bullet fire. You know,
I'm sorry. If I was president, I
might
would
get
not
popped.
feel safe.
You would not what?
I would just not feel safe. I don't want her tackling me. Like, get a
My bad, Caucasian. My bad.
I've done it myself.
I was trying to get rid of the frame to put in the yeah. So back to it. What were you saying, CJ? I cut you
I'm
off.
just saying, like, hypothetically, if I was president, I would not want her to be the one responsible for tackling me. Like, get a big guy.
Yeah,
Is that
I
the
agree. Caucasian definitely agrees. Even though, didn't you say you don't have any issue with women in there, but is it just this woman? Is it because of
No.
how she reacted or her size or what?
He
What's
said
that?
DEI is not a good standard to use for
It's not. We need actual security personnel in the Secret Service, not analysts and frankly DEI hires. I mean, these people want to work in HR, but they're shifted into positions they're not qualified for. Not really. They take a paper test and they're technically
Came
qualified.
from HR?
So now I'm wondering if there was like a woman that was like party chief that was in, head of this particular detail or whatever, because that might be useful information.
Whoever set up the actual layout for the security detail knew what they were doing and specifically did something erroneous. How do you not care? Hold on. How do you not cover the building of your security detail?
Yes.
You're here to cover the venue, and yet the very building you choose for your security headquarters is the shooter's fucking nest, dude.
And they didn't look. They didn't have drones. The Secret Service security wasn't looking on rooftops. None of this adds up. But question: I know this picture was just, apparently taken and in action. But just take a look. Was she tackling him to get him to the ground? Or was she protecting his side instead of his head, which would make zero sense?
There is some footage. I can't remember who the photographer was that took the picture, but it shows that there is a must spot on Trump's vest, on his jacket, right? I don't know whether it's a bullet fragment or a piece of glass or something hit it, but there's a damaged spot right about here on his left side, I think. No, right side, right about here. And I think what she's trying to do at that point is verify that he doesn't have broken ribs or anything injured while trying to cover as much of his big ass as her tiny ass can.
I think they said that picture was shopped or something, because they showed another picture where that mark was missing. So again, we have to wait for the evidence to be cleared up.
It's so ridiculous for him to have his hand up after getting shot. Like,
But
is it
that is such a ball deep response, dude.
not?
King Emperor Trump now, the actual Kevlar Don, the bullet dodger, bro.
The bullet.
Dodges bullets out.
I think it would be more suspicious if he didn't do that, TJ. If you understand Trump,
Right?
that's his nature.
To get shot and hold your hand up, like, I don't
Damn
know.
right. There's
Well-
probably not a more American statement you could make without actually speaking. To get shot. And Bob Marley did the same thing. Bob Marley took a 41 caliber round in his freaking gut and tried his best to finish the show. It was the actual fans having witnessed him being shot that forced him to go to the hospital.
I didn't even know Bob Marley got shot.
I didn't either. I didn't even know there was a 41 caliber. I'd never heard of that. So just to be clear, you think that she was checking his ribs to see if they were broken?
I think that this specific moment is the point at which she has just patted his stomach in the front, and she's moving around to where the rib cage is, the bottom right hand side, right where your cursor is, right? She's trying to cover him as much as she can.
Except for his
Even
head.
look at the other guys up there. The other guys up there aren't exactly beefcakes. What are these guys going to do if he just lays down, decides he's not going to go? If he wants to get his shoes.
I think this is where they were moving him off stage, by the way. They already checked
Yeah.
him for injuries.
This is a little later.
When he was on the ground.
So look, not being in the Secret Service or this type of shit, I would just highly question the idea of, if you're under fire, checking somebody's ribs. You get them the fuck out, you protect their head, if anything, head and heart, and get them out. That's it. You're not checking ribs. They're not medical experts doing an examination evaluation. I just don't get that.
That's true. Well, he should be wearing a vest too, but he's a big boy.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
but if I
fair.
was Trump, I would be wearing a custom vest. It wouldn't even be a thing.
That's fair. Uncle Guns here. Anyone in the military law enforcement will tell you that it's extremely common to have poor interagency communication, interaction coordination, and left hand, right hand ball dropping. I mean, yeah, I agree. Essentially, Uncle Gun saying he was being protected by a bunch of retards. I agree. That does make sense.
I think it
There you
became
go, babe.
an intra-agency competition thing rather than cooperation thing.
See, this is what a professional Secret Service agent does. She hides behind the one she's protecting to make sure the bullets get slowed down by Trump.
Yeah.
It looks like she's trying to tell him why he's being shot. It looks like she's talking down to him, like, "Sir, the reason you're catching bullets is because of the mean things you said on Twitter."
She's transcribing.
I think she was asking for a manager.
I think she was making a booty call, like she was talking to his butt. I don't know what she could possibly be doing other than shielding herself in that instance, which may have been very brief.
Because I think you can see the other agents are doing the actual job of throwing their bodies in front of the bullets. To
so what you're saying is she's the Secret Service's Plan B?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
She's gonna go for help.
She was gonna become the new candidate just in case Trump went down.
So as far as I can tell, my narrative, my tinfoil hat narrative, may in fact still be correct.
I'm not saying it's incorrect specifically. I'm just saying, how do you make that shot on the ear with that head jerk happening the way it did?
That's the part I don't buy. Even the most professional can't tell Trump when to twist his head right at that split second.
I didn't see it, so you may very well be correct.
Yeah, dude, I think he nearly died because not only, again, was it an incredibly easy shot. The only reason why I think he missed so bad was because he just gotten startled by the police officer who peeked over the roof and saw him there, and then he turned around and pointed his rifle at the police officer, and then he had to turn back around and get reorient his shot, and that's when he started shooting at him. And only because Trump, like Caucasian said, if you watch the footage, only because Trump turned his head was it an earshot, because he was normally facing the crowd, and it would have been a headshot. And so
you guys are sure that the head turned as he heard the sound or something, or the head
I think he visually saw the shooter first and looked at him at the roof right as the guy was pulling the trigger.
I firmly believe that. I think he saw something move in a place it shouldn't move. No, he didn't hear the shot. I think he saw something move in a place it shouldn't be. Right there. That little twitch. He turned his head to the right just a hair. And if he had not done that, by the angles involved visually from here, that would have been straight in his freaking ear hole if he hadn't have turned his head just a hair. It went by him instead of through him. I'll show you.
But again, the way that guy got to the roof,
we can slow it down. Yep, right there. That little that head bob.
You see where he felt it hit his ear because he grabbed his ear immediately.
And Daisy Sophia May.
Oh, this is Based Oracle's stream.
Yes, it's my stream. That's right.
Based Oracle's channel.
So, hold on here. Chuck. Oh, Chuck. Y'all wanting to see what you want, in my opinion. I'm not sure who you're referring to. Maybe my tinfoil hat theory or what Caucasian's seeing, but it sounds like they're talking about the official narrative, and I'm more so playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, I haven't even watched it. I gotta watch the thing and analyze it if I want to dance with that.
I was live when it happened. Me and Samuel the Infamous were doing a show. I think it was Abysmal Musings, and we had just gone live, and rather than doing anything to do with the show, we ended up sitting down and going through the video over and over and over again, trying to different angles that we could find at the time, because that was the thing that was happening. I'll tell you another funny thing. I took that clip, the picture that everybody's using for thumbnails now, and I tried to use it for my thumbnail while I was live, and StreamYard wouldn't let me change it, and it wouldn't even recognize that thing was actually on my computer. It will now. I can go back now and use it, but at the time, it just would not do it. I tried to email it, and the email showed up with no file.
Chuck is here. Now we'll get the answers. What really happened, Chuck?
What y'all are missing is off to the right is I don't know if it's a whiteboard, if it's an electronic board, if it's a banner, poster, but it had numbers on it. that had to deal with illegal immigration.
Hmm.
And he was talking about the numbers on that board. And if you watch it again, I'm cutting out.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. He's talking about the numbers on that board, and he turns again to make a reference to the numbers is when the shot comes.
Hmm.
They got a display board, something over there where he's referring to the immigration numbers, talking about these numbers are a little old. They need to be updated. And he did that a couple of times, and about the third time when he turned the point back at the board is when the shot came whizzing by.
Are you talking
So
about those little mirrors on the stands where they like read their teleprompters or something?
No. They had some sort of display board that he was referring to with numbers on it. You can't see it in the picture, I don't think.
Maybe that was coincidentally what brought his attention to the guy on the roof too, though, because he was in the same direction.
But what is the theory, like, that somebody was triggered, no pun intended, about him talking about the numbers, and that was what caused? What are the numbers' relevancy? The board.
He was explaining why he turned his head to the right.
Why he was going to the right.
I got you.
Now, I watched a former Secret Service guy on Rumble who apparently has still got some inside connections. And he was saying that the hesitation of taking the shooter out was the vantage point of the government snipers. They couldn't get a clear shot. There was obstruction or something. And it wasn't until his head came up, so they shot the only thing they could shoot. Now, is that true? I don't know.
When you say the only thing, you mean his ear?
No. I'm talking about the guy that was doing this shooting.
Yeah.
Why he got shot in the head.
Oh, gotcha.
So a professional
sniper, the return fire
away to where he's not going to be able to see a nearby rooftop. Is that what?
And supposedly what happened was the guy popped off 3 or 4 rounds. The other 3 or 4 rounds was from an agent shooting towards the rifle guy to distract him long enough for the sniper to get a scope on him. And then, because that's that final shot you hear is the supersonic or the silent suppressed shot.
Just one problem with that idea, Chuck, is if the shooter was able to peek his head over the roof to get the shot on Trump, then the sniper definitely had a clear shot on him by then. So that they waited way too long to take the shot.
I'm trying to piece things together. Like, remember the red-haired troll-looking guy that the BBC interviewed?
Yeah, the spiky hair. Yeah, that's all.
I distinctly remember him saying that there was some sort of blockage along the roof that this guy was crawling along. So they would have had trouble seeing him. The way the red-haired guy explained it. Until he got to his shooting spot.
Yeah. Now, what about the overall narrative? What do you think about... What do you think really happened from what you can decipher, Chuck? Because we have some different ideas. I played some devil's advocate, but what do you think?
And this is going on a couple of different stories that I followed, and this is coming from that same former Secret Service guy. They originally spotted the kid outside the main entrance, prancing around in front of the metal detector. So local law enforcement radioed headquarters or command post in the Secret Service to let them know somebody needs to keep an eye on this guy. They put a cop on him or something, and the cop lost him in the tree line back there with the other crowd, something. And they didn't know where he went until he was pointed out again by the crowd. And then the other story, which is a story I don't know, don't have any more confirmation, is that there's actually a cop that went to confront him, and he pointed the rifle at the cop, and the cop backed down.
Yeah,
So
while he was on the roof.
Yeah, but I don't know if the cop that went up didn't have a gun, if he thought the guy up there was Secret Service, or if this part of the story is even true.
So I got you. Now, overall, do you think that this was just a lone angry attacker, or do you think it was set up by some agency or some group that is opposed to Trump, or do you think it was somebody set up for Trump to make a spectacle, which is probably the most tinfoil hat theory, but the idea that this would make him a hero, and now he's being talked about as the guaranteed victor for the presidential race? Or it could be something else.
It wasn't set up by Trump. It wasn't set up by Trump.
Yeah,
This
first
kid-
of all, the shooter was one of those like mentally ill, bullied as
Yeah,
a high school kid.
He could not
kinda
make
dude.
the rifle team at school. Yeah.
Well, you know, the article I just read here was talking about how this kid was not bullied as a child, and he was a
No,
very
he was in high
normal.
school. His own high school friends confirmed that. They said he
Okay,
was
well, look,
quiet and bullied.
that may very well be. I'm just talking about what is being said by CNN. And what up, Daisy?
Watch-
Hi, everybody. How y'all doing?
Very
You
good.
gotta
How are you?
watch the interview with his high school
Much better.
friends that knew him personally. That's better evidence.
You knew him, I-Fi?
I said his high school friends.
Oh,
They
sorry.
interviewed one of his high school friends that went to school with him and knew him personally.
Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood you.
And they said that he was one of those, like incel types that's like nerdy, no one likes, and he always kept to himself, and everyone always bullied him because he was one of those weirdos.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that fits the school shooter type profile, the kind of person that would do something like this. But
I fight.
yeah,
If you're saying that with like 100% conviction, you're gonna be let down.
possibly if you have better evidence than people that went to high school with him.
No, I mean it just sounded like you just like read a script from a news article
No,
or
I
something.
just watched the interview where one of the news people interviewed one of his high school friends that went to high school with him.
Oh, so then we believe the news then? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, so if you have more or better evidence than that, then by all means share it.
Well, I will say this: that usually the most heinous things happen covertly, and I haven't heard anybody talk about blackmail yet. And so people can be coerced all the time, and the fact that people are afraid to speak about that, I don't know, man. Like, I clearly don't know, but yeah.
I have a devil's advocate question, if I may be allowed.
Sure.
So here's me trying to figure out all this stuff over the past several years, even beforehand. Many of us feel that voting doesn't matter. We feel like it's a selection, not an election. But my question is this: if enough people just completely give up and they don't go vote, would that be considered to the powers that be, the evil elites, the people who corruptly run things? If enough people stop showing up, would they just then arbitrarily say, oh, they don't care, they don't really want to stay
No.
anymore, so we're just going to go full-blown communism? That's my question. Like, what do we do? How do we restore? How do we fix it? It's alarming to me, and I don't know the answers. Thanks for letting me ask.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I have some thoughts. Does anyone else want to go?
I'll make it quick. As long as there's 3 people in the United States that would vote, we still have a president.
So you think, just to clarify, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing, but you
Right.
think that as long as 3 voters would be active voters, that the presidency would not be fixed. Like, it wouldn't be what Daisy is describing.
It wouldn't stop an election from happening,
Mm.
is what I'm saying. Now they might
Oh.
start getting a little nervous, but it wouldn't stop the election.
Now, who do you mean by they would start getting nervous? Like
The
other
government.
politicians? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
the government, the bureaucracy. Well, the
but-
government.
But don't you think the government would want that? Because you're talking about they would be nervous, perhaps, if nobody voted. But don't you think they would want that in theory? Just to have a monopoly, just to be able to pick overtly, not to what I would describe. I don't know if Daisy would agree, but I think that to some degree, probably a high degree to be exact, that they're already picked. They're already fucked with. We've seen evidence of voters who are dead voting.
No.
No? We haven't seen that?
I'm being facetious.
Oh.
I'm
So-
trying to be funny.
Okay, I got you. No, I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't know the answers. I have some thoughts. I have some perceptions of reality, but I don't know what happens behind closed doors.
I think y'all already know me well enough to know that I'm already on team Uniparty, and that your vote completely doesn't matter. So that's why I wasn't really gonna rehash that old bit. But
Uniparty? I never heard
yeah,
of them.
which I can't really figure out who's doing the conspiracy here, because if it, I view the Uniparty as all the same deep state people. Maybe there's some infighting within the deep state where maybe certain intelligence arms are agreeing the politics arms or whatever, and so I still don't buy that Trump is this wild card that they can't control or whatever and stuff like that. I think that's all part of the narrative, just to make you want to go out there and vote and stuff like that. That's why I actually
He's a New
wanted
York
to
liberal.
support
He's
your. What's that?
Sorry.
Good.
I just wanted to say he's a New York liberal. The guy's not a conservative, in my opinion.
Right, exactly. But what Based Oracle is going like way deep into it, like saying that this was all planned and it was a hoax.
Hold on. I didn't say that. I asked the question.
But I had that same initial thought while it was happening, that this does sound like something they would do to like make him look like the hero and sway the voting and stuff like that, which again doesn't matter. But
So think about this, Sci-Fi. To your point, I think, but going a little bit further, let's say that the deep state did in fact want him to lose more than an ear. Okay, they would have to know. The idea that they're dumb, I think, is very dumb. They would have to know that if they didn't get the job done, that the result would be what people are now saying, that he is guaranteed to win now.
Well, I don't even know if that's true, because they thought he was guaranteed to win the last election as well, but we saw how that went. But again, this is why I don't fall for this trick, because this is exactly what they want the entire audience to do, is to have all these passionate discussions and debates about which president is the true defender of peace and honor and truth. Meanwhile, it's a uniparty where they pick both candidates and they just play their little puppets against each other while you guys dance for them and feel like your vote still matters. And so that's why I didn't want to, rein in on Chuck's parade. But I think, like I said, Daisy's question, I think already knows what my answer is going to be. That's why I didn't want to.
Yeah, but when you say rain on Chuck's parade, I think that what you mean, that I agree with you on, is that Chuck believes that our votes do have the power that they should have, that perhaps they used to have. And unfortunately, I agree with you, Wi-Fi. I don't think that's the case. I wish it was. And I don't mean to rain on Chuck's parade or anyone else's who does believe that our votes really do matter. It's very unfortunate that they don't. I believe that I think the system is FUBAR as far as politics go. I don't think that a vote is going to fix them. There's no way for you or I or anyone to look at the voting structure and know that it's being carried out honestly. All we see is what's shown on the screen, what we're told, and we're told by people who societally we believe. If we didn't believe societally, these people would be gone.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And unfortunately, this is just like layers of stuff on top of each other. This is why I'm a little confused, because I immediately dismiss any conspiracy theories as just evil retards being evil and retarded. But again, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't add up in this situation. Like at first, I wanted to believe that it was just some rando, mentally ill kid who had a, bone to pick with Trump or whatever, for whatever reason, or he just wanted to become famous, like any other school shooter or whatever. And so that was kind of my initial guess. But then, like, the more details that come up, it was like, how in the world did all of the police and all of the Secret Service all fail at the same time in the most obvious way? It's like, getting back to just like, sniper shooting 101, the building he was on is the most obvious place that a sniper would try and take a shot at him from.
Also, just to give my own anecdote, is that the idea of making a shot from what is being purported at 125 meters, so roughly 130 yards, whatever the case, is going to be done by somebody with a rifle he is unfamiliar with to get a headshot. I mean, look, for a novice shooter, I don't know. Look, things come into play. Windage comes into play. The hot fucking roof comes into play. A lot of things come into play. Trump moving his head comes into play. So
Policeman startling him comes into play.
Yeah, sure. A lot of things come into play. Whereas I was talking about before we went to shooting range with AR-15, right, or M16, is we would do snapping for a week, dry firing. And that doesn't mean that everyone was hitting fucking black on target. Now, granted, we started from, I think it was 200 yards. But you're also talking about Marine Corps. We've been training for this for quite some time, including weak snapping and, in some terms, prone position. I don't know how everything is done now. But my point is, I don't think that some novice kid is going to think that he's going to make that hit from that shot, not being well familiar with shooting and the rifle itself. I know one of the articles said he did go to the shooting range, but it was also stated that he wasn't familiar with this rifle. He stole it from his dad or some shit. So there's just a lot of things that don't...
It sounds like he had familiarity enough where his dad said, oh yeah, you're going to the shooting range, go ahead and take the gun. Like it's a regular thing.
That could be. And again, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things that don't quite add up looking just at what it's supposed to be on the surface, what is being reported.
Here's how I can read your mind-based oracle. I already know what you're going to immediately say no to. The biggest question is, how in the world did this random mentally ill retard have the luck that it would take to get past all that security, have a ladder waiting for him to the perfect building?
Now, has that been proven yet about the ladder? Because
there's a picture with a ladder that shows
Bring up the picture.
ladder.
Bring up the picture.
Okay, I hadn't seen that.
Google it.
I didn't either, but I didn't know about it either. I read that he apparently, I think what I read was something like he had bought a ladder from Home Depot or some shit.
It's one of those giant fucking ladders, too. It's not one of those small foldable.
Well, the red
he put it in his trench coat.
Yeah.
What threw me off was the red hair guy said he bear climbed up to the roof.
No, he said he was bear climbing. Like he probably meant to say prone. He was crawling prone. And so that's what he was doing, which again, see, this is where it starts sounding reasonable again, because there is reasonable belief that the snipers weren't able to see him because it was a sloped roof and he was on the down slope of the opposite side of the roof.
Yes.
And so that's why the crowd could see him, but maybe the snipers couldn't immediately see him. But you would definitely see, like his head bobbing up and down over the roof. And so, but more importantly, the police saw him and ran away, did not immediately start shooting at him or tell the snipers.
Maybe they thought he was Secret Service. I don't know.
There's a lot of plausible deniability, Chuck. That's the problem with this whole situation.
I know. That's why I'm not
plausible.
Chuck brings up a good point.
I have
I'm not
another.
zeroing in.
I have another question slash observation,
Yeah.
and I want to see if it's happened to you all. I have found that when I go out and about, I'm doing my life. Let's say I'm at the grocery store or I'm just wherever, and I run into a lot of different kinds of people. You know, people different background than mine and everything. And I find that when I'm out and about, people are very polite to each other. People open doors for each other. People will say, "Hey, how you doing?" They'll reach something down off a shelf for you if you can't reach it. And you know, nobody is like looking at each other like, "Oh, you're an American, but are you one of those Americans I'm supposed to hate and be divided against because we might have some disagreements?" I have found that I don't think America is really as divided as people say they are. And I just wonder y'all's take on that.
Daisy, obviously you're from the South, one, and two, you've obviously never been to a blue state. So if you ever venture far enough,
I am in the South. That's true. But I'm in the South with a lot of very far left liberals that are very vocal in the big city that's near me. They're very vocal. But yet when I come across these people in person, and you can sometimes tell that they're a liberal or whatever, they're still very, like, they're human beings, and they treat me with respect. And I don't know if it's because I try to treat them with respect.
I think when you have to reach for the assassination card, that's like the last straw, like before the public gives up on you. You know what I'm saying? To like get them back.
So Daisy, yeah, I'm in a what I guess would call a blue state, and it's a particularly ratchet one. And with that said, what I generally see
it's not okay what they're doing.
What I generally see is the opposite of what you're saying. What I observe is people would stab each other for $5 a cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
I see a bunch of sure. I see a bunch of drug addicts walking around, and some of them actual drug addicts. I had one approach me the other day. I'm not going to go over it too much in detail, but he ended up running away the way I reacted into traffic and almost got hit. With that said, you know, I think it does largely depend on where you live, as Uncle Guns pointed out. And obviously America is very different depending on where you are. Sometimes it's the state, it's that imaginary line. Sometimes it's the city. There's many factors. With that said, I've been all over the U.S., Texas, Florida, and I mean recently. I don't mean like 20 years ago. Georgia. Damn, I've probably been to about 15 states in the last year or two. And I largely have seen around the same. I don't dispel that there's places like you're describing where you are. I think that's wonderful. It's just I don't see it very often. So I think that you're getting kind of the rose-colored glasses of America. Not saying that it's not happening, but just saying it sounds like it's the good end, whatever the fuck that means. And real quick, thank you, Dwight Baldwin. Appreciate it. Based, what philosophers or philosophies do you look up to? So one of them, and I've talked about a little bit, is Way of the Samurai. I've also read some of the Stoicism. What I tend to do is I try to attempt to take the good out of different philosophies, different cultures. And I know it's probably more in the norm to just pick one. But, you know, there's a lot of variables in life. So that pretty much sums up where I'm coming from. Lastly, even the Bible I'm reading currently. I think there's a lot of good to come out of the Bible, depending on how you take it, depending on what you're looking at. But I don't hold one book or one person as the highest esteem, and that's exactly what I follow.
Well, I got good news for you, because me and Daisy are gonna unpack the Bible for you. So be sure to tune in to iFi's YouTube
Y-
channel.
Yeah, and I'm down for that. I think actually, Cynthia mentioned something about that earlier, if I'm correct. And Pablo, quick correction: I have not been to Iraq. I was in Pakistan during the tsunami on the way to Afghanistan, but I did not go to Iraq. So, anyways, that's where I'm coming from, Daisy. That's what I've seen. And look, I was in Florida for a good amount of time. And, you know, Florida has this reputation, it seems nowadays, where Florida's pretty based, and there's some people who believe that, some the opposite. I was in several different cities in Florida, including pretty low social, economic, and the higher ones like Brickell, Miami. And with that said, I considered Florida, no offense to anyone who's there, but to be largely a dumpster fire.
Oh, definitely Miami, especially. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty bad.
And outside of
Or-
Miami.
Orlando's bad.
But
Yeah.
speaking of
I was in Orlando
color-coded-
too.
Speaking of color-coded states, even if you live in a blue state, you can still find like a red city or whatever, and vice versa. The main point, Daisy, is it's kind of the luck of the draw. You happen to be in a good neighborhood, and then as soon as you step into a bad neighborhood, then you'll quickly realize what the average American is like, and so it's part of that cognitive what's it called?
Dissonance, cognitive dissonance.
No, the other one, I can't think of the phrase. It's
Bias.
confirmation bias is the one where
Confirmation.
you
yeah.
think the whole country is good because the city you live in is full of good people, and so you
Yeah.
think that every one city is the same. And so if you travel around enough, you'll quickly learn what the average is more like, and it is way more divided, and it gets like psychotic in certain areas, like at the deep blue states with the blue cities. You'll find people like Destiny, for example. That's why I was trying to make that point earlier, that just go watch that interview with Pierce Morgan, where Destiny was saying that he doubled down on the fact that he was saying he hoped Trump got killed, and fuck the guy that got killed in the audience, the guy behind the audience that Trump that
Wow.
got killed. He said fuck
Damn.
that guy too, because he supports Trump. So he deserved to die, is what he said.
Jeez. Well, you know what? With that said, I will get Destiny on panel now.
Yeah, we need to talk to him, because he would be the perfect example of why I've been harping on the left for so long, and this is exactly who I'm talking about, is these kinds of people.
So, Daisy, I think I'm going to make a little prediction here, although it's not very far-fetched. I think a lot of people could see this if they look, that you're going to begin to notice over time, I don't know how long it's going to take, to what degree, but places in the U.S., different cities, states, are going to be more and more divided at this rate, at this trajectory that we are currently on. When it comes to politics, social, the TikTok era, a lot of the different bullshit going on, all the drug usage, it's going to get more and more divided. Cities like you're describing, or places, are going to become more and more scarce, if not extinct, unfortunately.
So I put the link in private chat, Daisy, and here's a picture of it. If you just YouTube this interview, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And like I said, even Cenk Uygur was on there as well, still trying to play the card of like, how dare Republicans or right-wing people question that the left wing may have been involved with like their rhetoric, or even on the deep state level with government, conspiracies or whatever. In other words, saying like we're being irrational for even asking the question about whether or not this was like some sort of staged or hoaxed or planned event. And so that that's what I'm talking about. But you'll see. So. Yeah, there's definitely severe division, Daisy, and I'm kind of glad that Trump didn't die, because if he was killed, I think that may have been the straw that broke the camel's back, and would have actually kicked off the Electric Boogaloo Part 2, where the Civil War starts just bleeding into the streets and then slowly kicks off. So
Well,
I totally agree with that.
I'm glad you touched on that, I-5, because I for one, and I think there's other people, other Americans, we don't want that. We don't want a bloodbath in this country over differences of opinions, for goodness sakes. Like,
You keep saying
I-
we, the good and reasonable people, Daisy. We are so small a number in this country.
see, I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. I think that there are more people who are spiritually awakening and seeking that God void that you and I were talking about the other day. I don't think it's too late for people to tap in to that God connection, get their heart right, get their soul right, not in a religious way necessarily, but in a way that they can be kind to their fellow human being and salvage and not be enemies with each other. We are not each other's enemies. It's the powers to be that is the enemy, in my opinion.
And it
And
may
I'm
not be
gonna
too late.
I have faith and hope that it can be turned around, because it all comes back to that collective consciousness of how we set our intentions, how we have our heart, how we go about, keeping the bad things out of our heart. I just have to hold on to that. And I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but that's where I choose to put my energy at this time.
And that's why I invited you to discuss religion, because I'm done with drama and politics for all of the above reasons. That you
Yes,
just
sir,
described.
and I'll be happy to do that. I have to get prepared to do that with you, because I know we differ on some things, but I think we're really close on the most important things.
Definitely.
So Daisy, when you said it, you don't think it's too late. I don't necessarily think it's too late, although it may be too early. And what I mean by that is, it seems to me, I don't know everyone in the U.S., but it just seems to me that people haven't had enough hardship yet to wake up to reality. They're too in illusion or disillusion, whatever it is, with the buffers in their lives, the feelings, meaning that there's plenty of people perfectly happy in the moment, being drug addicts, slaves to social media, fast food, all sorts of other drugs, on and on. They're complacent. And therefore, I don't think that we're about to change, but I hope that you are correct.
Yeah, I'm not a social butterfly. I don't run into a lot of people, but the ones I do, I can't imagine us having any type of getting that serious about politics. I mean, I don't know where those people are, but I don't hang out with them.
Just click on the news and you'll see.
I mean, I know it's on
cares about
TV,
the
but that's why I
news.
don't watch it.
Well, that sticking your head in the sand doesn't make the problem go away, though. That's the problem. Just because you're not aware that they're there doesn't
Who
make
said
them go
there
away.
even is a problem? The TV told you that?
No, the general public told me everything I need to know about human beings, and so the news is just a slice of what's going on in the mainstream, and so obviously a lot of it's for clicks and views and stuff like that, but there's some truth to it. That this, again, Trump was nearly killed by some mentally ill kid, so it's not in our imaginations, and
That's true. And my question to that is his mental illness due to, and I'm going to be a little bit far-fetched here, but I think it's real. I think that MK Ultra and government programs and government psychological attacks, I think it's real. I think all of these school shooters and the other horrible things that have happened, I think the government's had their hand in it, the whole 9 yards. Does that make any sense to anybody?
Well, it's definitely had its hand in it, at least indirectly. But are you saying directly the government has had their hands in all of them?
I think that's what she was getting at.
I think so, because there's always been this programming thing that the military does. They used it in Vietnam, where they used this thing called remote viewing, and they could control people's minds. I know that sounds far-fetched, but it's been going on a long time.
But a lot of these people aren't like military people, so like how would the
No,
government
they're just
respond to
that's what makes it all the more plausible. They find just a Joe Blow somewhere like this guy was, and who knows what they've psychologically done to him and others to make people go do these horrific things, especially these school shootings on our children. What the heck? Like, I can't even. And I remember the one in Texas in particular, where they just waited and waited and waited and would not go in there and help those children. I can't remember the
because it
name of
was
the city.
Was it because there was a tranny with a gun? Was that the one you're talking about?
I don't remember. I just know it was somewhere in Texas.
Uvalde.
Yes. Thank you, Chuck. Yes,
You're
Uvalde.
welcome.
Like, they had the ability to go get this guy, and they let him kill. They just let him get away with it, and I don't understand.
Well, I'd have some problem with some cops if they let my kid just sit in there and freaking die. You know what I mean? Like, I remember that one.
I hear where you're coming from, Daisy, but again, I'm going to push back and go with the Occam Razor approach that it's probably just evil retards, even though it sounds like a government conspiracy where they're like controlling our minds with their brainwaves and, you know, making us assassinate each other and stuff like that. It's probably more of just a breakdown of society where, like, you know, your average Joe doesn't have any kind of morals or standards, and they're constantly subjected to just like instant gratification and, you know, degenerate lifestyles, like Base Oracle said.
You may very well be
Malnutrition
right.
and, you know, just
You
bad
may
lifestyle.
be right. Like, people who choose to follow evil or get sucked into evil, they then have no conscience and they don't care.
And
I mean, I guess that's
surrounded by
possible.
evil. It's not just the government. It's like every level of our culture. You know, even our businesses and our schools and our entertainment, everything all the way down is just layers of degeneracy. And so
Degeneracy, yep.
So it's hard to blame it just on the government, because the government is just like any other evil retard.
It honestly started with the breakdown of the American family in the 1960s.
100%.
That's where I think it really started falling apart.
But I think the government angle is convenient for a lot of people, because they try to look for like the one answer that's causing all this problem, and it's got to be like lizard people with like alien technology and stuff like that. But in reality, it's just, you know, layers and layers of culture and a lot of infighting between, like, you know, deep states and, you know, mega corporations and, you know, super aggressive PR campaigns that borderline, like, you know, CIA psyops and stuff like that. You know, there's just so much fuckery going on that, you know, it's hard to put it on one little point. But you know, it's very complicated. I agree.
I agree. And we are going to wrap it up. Any last remarks, CJ, Daisy, Chuck, I-Fi?
I'll do mine last.
Cool.
Are you going to stick around after the show ends for a minute?
Sure.
Please?
Yeah, I can do that.
I got a question. I don't want to ask it on air.
Cool.
Thanks for letting me join. Y'all take care and God bless.
See you around, Daisy.
You too, Daisy.
Same here. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Have a good one, CJ. All right. And I-Fi?
In closing, my final statement is you can end the stream now.
We're waiting.
See, it doesn't work when you're on my stream.
Oh man! All right. So in closing, just to recap everything I just said, I know every time I say tinfoil hat, you know, the first person I'm thinking of is Neurojack. That's exactly who I'm thinking of.
I did not know that, but
okay. I was thinking Rant.
Everyone has their favorite, you know, tinfoil hat guy. Mine is Neurojack. Yours is Rant. And so, anyways, I already know in his mind, he's already going through all the, you know, the Masons and, you know, how the Illuminati planned this 1,000 years ago and built the pyramids to make sure Trump was a certain height, and, you know, and that the shooter would show up with the alien technology that they prepared. And so I think this is part of the way that the general public's mind is breaking. You can see how they're trying to make sense of what's going on in our world, and they can't deal with the fact that there's just this many evil retards fucking up everything, like on every level: government, schools, society, culture, nutrition, medicine, everything. And so
I agree.
just another day is what I'm kind of summing up this one too. There's just so much weird stuff going on with this one that I still can't figure out what's going on. But I'm going to wait until all the evidence is out, and then I hear all of the narratives, laid out, and see which ones actually match reality, and then
Yes.
come back with a second opinion later. But my initial thoughts, I was pretty sure it was just, a mentally ill bully dude who wanted to make his mark on the world by trying to kill Trump. I don't even know if he was like a completely Spurgeon left-wing guy, but he was probably left-wing enough where he'd hang around those guys. It was probably some, MAGA Trumpers that were bullying him in school or something that beat him up and said, you're not cool enough to be a Republican or whatever. Anyway, so whatever the actual motive was, we don't know. But the things that led up to it is what really doesn't compute, including all the luck based that this guy required to get to exactly where he got through all of the security, had the ladder waiting for him, had time to set up and make his shots with the best trained sniper SS, constantly watching him, and some guy in the crowd saying, look, there's a dude on the roof with a gun, and the policeman comes up and distracts him long enough and still has time to set up and get an earshot on Trump. So that part that I don't buy. So that this sounds like I was making a joke earlier that see, this is what happens when you let women into the Secret
Does
Service.
he ever breathe?
What?
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah. No, you're
Anyway.
very long-winded, but yeah, I got you.
That's why you're supposed to cut
Look,
me off.
luck doesn't
That's
exist, and neither do coincidences.
that
and-
was my point. It
And
was
look,
luck.
shout out, now that IFI is done, shout out, thank you, Dwight, for the super chat. All you based buddies in the chat, appreciate you. Our members, including Chuck, thank you for coming on panel as well. And in summation,